lads, welcome back to what is already episode number 19 of the toonTALK podcast. I am joined today by a brand new guest from the Magpie 24/7 family. Jay, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you?
I am very good as well, especially after the week we've just had with two massively insane victories. Because you're new on the pod, I suggest you get to pick up the bunch when it comes to what game we talk about first. Is it the Leeds result or is it the more recent Bournemouth result?
Crazy. What a week, man. I would say we start the chronological one. So let's start with the Leeds game.
All right, fantastic. So when it comes to the Leeds game, that was a Premier League result, and for anyone who didn't watch the game, um, it was a 4-3 instant classic, which we did win in the dying seconds of the game. Harvey Barnes with the single latest Premier League goal of all time, which is absolutely an incredible achievement for him to have. Um, Before we talk about this game, let's hear what Paul's thoughts were on the starting lineup.
Well, before I get to the game today, obviously I've just pulled up in Newcastle now, parked up in the car, grabbed my phone, got loads of messages from all sorts of people on about the one and only King Kev. Kevin Keegan has just announced today, the club have announced, the family have announced that he's got cancer. He's going to be starting cancer treatment shortly. And I'd just like to say on this, because I will be doing a separate video about King Kev, one of the sort of growing up, one of the real first ever role models that I had. A hero, larger than life, just made you believe anything was possible. And before I get into today's game, I just want to say, fuck cancer. Just fuck yourself. Awful. Today's game, it sort of puts it all in perspective after that sort of news, doesn't it? It really does. First Bobby, now King Kev. Shocking, absolutely shocking. Newcastle United, I've just seen the team, just clicked onto the official website, seen the team. We're going to go with pretty much as we were before, but with Big Nick up top. Keegan-esque haircut from back in his days when he was a player. Look, I think based and backed off this sort of news today, they just need to channel that, channel the energy from the crowd, which, you know, there'll no doubt be an outpouring of affection for King Kev during the game today. They need to channel that energy into a positive performance, get the points for Keegan, get the points for Newcastle United. We need to do the business we really do. Team lineup wise, like I say, apart from the one change up top, which was to be expected after Vissa started a few games recently, Voltemada up top, a big opportunity for him. He needs to stay central, he needs to stay far up and be the focal point in today's game. No doubt about it. We've got good changes to be able to make them during the game. I think we'll see a lot of the players who've been returning, your Trippiers of the world, your Botmans of the world, looking to come back for the FA Cup game at the weekend and build up your minutes that way. I think his team today suggests that this is the priority fixture. This is the important fixture for him. We need the points. We need to be able to keep racking them up to sort of make up for lost time in the Premier League. Can we get another win on the bounce? Can we get a third win? Hopefully so. I think it's going to be a tight game, fiercely contested team, but I think it's one that is more than good enough to going out there and for getting the result for Newcastle United. Look, like you say, do it for yourselves, lad. Do it for the fans and do it for King Kev. I'm absolutely gutted. I'm going to make my way down to the stadium now, and I'll come back at half time, hopefully talking about a couple of Newcastle United goals and a performance that befits the man. Attack in, go for it. If we do get in front one or two goals, just like Keegan did back in the days when he was managing, don't take your foot off the gas. Let's go for more. Let's try for more. Let's try for, to just put that performance that I don't know. Like you say, it's nothing's going to sort of change the tone of the mood or how I'm feeling at this exact moment. But, do it the right way. Honour him in the right way. He'll be desperate. I know he will be desperate for Newcastle United to get the points today. He's black and white through and through. Don't ever forget that. one of the best managers that we've ever had. Up there with Sir Bobby, another man who I greatly looked up to as a kid growing up, from not too far away from where Sir Bobby, grew up. So these are people who I've held in far greater esteem than many, many others. Uh, say as a kid, respected the hell out of them. They showed you the right way to do things, so much more than a manager. These types of individuals, and I think a lot of what during your formative years, the things that you pick up from these types of people, you take up into your adult life. The standards, whether it be type of football that it is, philosophy, trying to do things the right way. So it's gutting. It really, really is gutting. But I'm trying to stick to the match, trying to stick to the thoughts of another 3 points. Can we get ourselves consolidated into the top half of the table? Maybe jump up a place or two in the table as well tonight. That would be great. But puts everything into perspective. Still thinking quite confidently and positively 2-0 for Newcastle United. But we'll see what today brings. But a decent lineup. Hopefully, still plenty of freshness to be able to go and attack a good Leeds team who like to draw a lot of games, but who are picking up form and who are sort of showing signs of life. I don't think these are going to be in trouble for relegation, put it that way. Anyway, speak to you at half time.
And then we can go over the starting lineup ourselves with Pope in goal, who was now back, Hall, Cher, Thiaw and Miley in the back. Joelinton, Tonali and Bruno made up the midfield with Gordon, Voltemade and Harvey Barnes in attack. What were your thoughts on the starting 11 before going into this game?
I think we all want to see Voltemade and Visa together. We saw yesterday, so we come back later to that. But if we see the schedule in January, I don't think we see them often together because it's so stretched out, so many games, and we have to rest the players if we can.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good lineup. Just for Leeds, it should be how do I say it? It should be enough
Yeah.
to win this game.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because even though Leeds have been good this season, this is absolutely still a team we should be beating. And if you have a look at that starting lineup, that is pretty much the strongest side we can put out there. When it
Yeah,
comes to
that's what I thought.
fullbacks, when it comes to fullbacks, it seems like it's whoever's fit needs to play at this moment in time,
Of
which
course.
is a bit unfortunate because we've had a lot of injury issues there, but it's also something we should absolutely be looking at in this January period. On the players' performances, though, I thought Malik Thiaw had his first real struggle in a Newcastle shirt in that
Yeah,
first half,
he
didn't
was
he?
very unfortunate.
What have you thought of his season so far, and what did you think of his first 45 minutes?
I think he came big. So he had really, really good games, and I never thought that he would fit in like this from the start. But yeah, it was a real setback for him, I think.
Yeah, mentally as well. I think when it comes to having such a fantastic start at Newcastle, it's all nice and well, but now we're going to have to see how he reacts to a bad performance and how that influences his confidence. So I'm very curious to see how that will work. Nick Pope was back. I was happy to see him back. What did you think of him?
It's crazy. Y- Everyone wants to see Ramsdale because Pope was doing mistake here, mistake there. Everyone was unhappy with him. And then Ramsdale played, and yeah, for one game, two game, three games, and everyone comes on. I want to see Pope back. I want to see Pope.
Who do you prefer out of those two?
I think at the moment it's Pope, but Ramsdale had a really good game yesterday. So I think they both have their advantages in different situations. And if it fits to the opponent, there's always a good call. But I think on the line as a shot stopper, it's Pope.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree. And I think that's the reason I prefer Pope as a goalkeeper because he makes me less nervous when opposition attackers get into our box than Ramsdale does, because a lot of the shots Ramsdale concedes are shots I think is Pope saving that,
Could
but
he? Yeah.
yeah, but on at the same time, whenever Pope gets past the ball by one of our defenders, I think, fuck, I wish Ramsdale was standing there. So it is a pretty difficult one. We ideally just need a combination out of the two goalkeepers.
Correct.
As for the rest of the team, Lewis Hall was trying, but wasn't necessarily fantastic in that first half. But Lewis Miley,
What a man.
I'm absolutely in love with this kid. And at right back as well, playing as that inverted fullback, stepping into the midfield, allowing Bruno Guimaraes to push up higher, which has been, I mean, it has been massively benefiting us over the last few weeks to give Bruno that little bit more space to roam into. And then from the attack, Harvey Barnes on the right, who is hitting some absolutely amazing form. But let's talk some football in this game. So we went behind from a Brandon Aronson strike. I thought we showed not necessarily control in this game, but because I don't think you really can have control when you concede three against Leeds. But we did show that even though we got behind three times in this game, we absolutely showed the fight to get back into the game every single time. And even when we made the 3-3 via a penalty, I genuinely believed we were going to make the fourth goal, which isn't something I'm used to this season from Newcastle, because it's always a little bit too less when we need something in the final or in dying seconds of a game, or at the start of the season we gave away games when it was level at the end, and both teams were going at it. So this is a nice change from that. Um, Harvey Barnes scored the first equalizer. Fantastic assist by Nick Voltemade, if you ask me, to keep the composure and to see that Harvey Barnes is a better option than turning and shooting himself is fantastic by him. As for Leeds, I do think we need to give credit to some of the players, some of actually Daniel Farke as well, because he's been doing a fantastic job for Leeds this season. He was probably the favorite to be sacked this season, and I mean, he's got them playing some fantastic stuff. And before this game, they were unbeaten in seven. And Dominic Calvert-Lewin, what a signing he has turned out to be for Leeds, hasn't he?
He came from Tottenham, isn't he?
He came from Everton. Yeah.
Ah, the yeah, that's what I meant. Everton. I have a thought of the Toffees, and that was
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
the bridge to Tottenham.
I see what happened there.
Yeah, I think Aronson and Calvert-Lewin they carried the whole game,
Hmm.
even if together with Anton Stach, another
Yeah,
German next to Daniel Farke.
absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to Stach, I suggested him over the summer for Bournemouth as a fantastic transfer option, and I mean, he's proving to be very capable of playing in the Premier League, and as probably after Calvert-Lewin, the most impressive signing Leeds have made this summer.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And that's what you mentioned earlier, Daniel Farke. He had a massive turnaround. He was
Hmm.
so close from second,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
he got the whole team together behind him, and I think they fight also for him, and they turned around the whole season nearly.
Hmm.
And I think he's fixated in his saddle.
I think so too. Yeah. Ever since they changed their approach from a three attacking system to a two striker system with five midfielders and three in the back off behind them, I think they have been absolutely brilliant. Calvert-Lewin and Okafor or Aronson to play off of him. Even Ampadu and I mean, he's not getting in the team necessarily now, but Longstaff at the start of the season have all been brilliant for Leeds.
Yeah.
So yeah, massive credit to them. And they did go in front against us on three different occasions. Calvert-Lewin with with one goal and Brennan Aronson with the other two. Massive credit has to go to Leeds, and I genuinely hope, and it's looking pretty likely, that they do stay in the league, because they themselves as a team and obviously Elland Road are such massive additions to this Premier League that I do genuinely hope they stay up. And this was a really, really fun game. Goal scorers for us, we've mentioned the first goal for Harvey Barnes. He did get the winner all the way in the end as well. But the two goals in between were a header from Joe Linton, which the header itself was a fantastic finish, but what an unbelievable pass with the outside of his boot from Bruno
Yeah.
to kind of paint it onto Joe
And
Linton's
not to
head.
forget the passion from Miley to save the ball.
Absolutely, which is the
I don't
second
know if it
time.
was a corner or throw in,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he ran that extra mile, he stopped the ball, bring it back to game.
Absolutely, yeah. You're absolutely right to mention that because this is the second game in a row. He's got not an assist this time, but he's made a goal by doing this because a lot of times defenders will just watch it go out of play and already get themselves ready for that set piece. So when he um, prevented the ball from going out and took it back in play, I think that surprised a lot of Leeds players and meant a lot of Leeds players had to make decisions more quickly than they are used to, which, I mean, it's still class from Bruno Guimaraes, that pass, so there's not necessarily a whole lot you can do about that. But yeah, you're absolutely right to mention that because that's what Lewis Miley is all about, that extra yard, that extra bit of effort, which is absolutely getting him and deserving him or making that he deserves to stay in this team.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes it's said. Earlier year, I really love to watch ice hockeys, and in football we always have the goal scorer and the assist giver, but in ice hockey you always have at least two assist givers. So you have that pass before the pass
Okay,
that's already mentioned in the statistics.
I didn't
And
know that.
sometimes it's sad for players like Miley or even the midfielders who are not. So Voltemade stole the assist
Yeah.
for Harvey Barnes' first goal. And the normal assist giver who made all the effort, maybe through the midfield, dribbling one
Hmm.
or two defenders, he isn't mentioned after that in the statistics.
Yeah, you're right. That would be an interesting statistic to see introduced into football. I completely agree. Um, the first half, so we went into the break with a 2-1 lead to Leeds, so we were 2-1 down, which wasn't ideal. I suggest we listen to what Paul's thoughts were at the halftime break.
Right, half time. I've calmed down a little bit. I waited for making the recording. Newcastle United won. The referee fucking two. Useless, inept, moron. The best part of this referee slid down the fucking mother's ass crack and is just stayed on the fucking bed mattress. How do we keep summing up the refereeing performances every single fucking opportunity, every single week? We come up, take our seats, get behind the lads. Obviously, it was emotional, like we all knew about Keegan before kick off. And the referees just come with the mindset of just spoiling, ruining the game, making it all about him, and it's absolutely and utterly fucking terrible. We haven't played champagne football throughout. We've had spells where we've been decent, we've been good, and we've got about them, and you know we showed plenty of effort, but it's like pissing against the wind when you're trying to work against all the Leeds team and the fucking referee and the VAR on top. So fuck knows. Big 45 coming up. Generally, we don't score more than two, but we need to stick it to these lot today, like, because it's just plain wrong. Absolutely fucking plain wrong. Early goal, hopefully, and then look to push on and try and get a winner. I'm sure the referee will make it as hard as fucking it's as humanly possible. The bloke is a complete and utter wanker. Half time, I say Newcastle United 1, the referee 2.
Anyway, have to talk about that second half because we absolutely, I mean, the team felt like they had to push to get that winner. Leeds were devastating on the counter attack, and that is something I am worried about. If we look at this game and we look at the Bournemouth game, we scored 7 goals in 2 games, so that's brilliant. But we conceded 6. 6 goals conceded in 2 games is not good enough, especially for an Eddie
Absolutely.
Howe side, which at the start of the season was absolutely praised for its defense, and the clean sheets have gone down a bit with our injury issues, which are well documented at the back. But even still, conceding 6 goals in 2 games is very un-Eddie Howe. So Do you think those defensive struggles will continue? Do you think this was more so a blip or the excitement of both games?
It's curious. Normally, we talked about the first half of the season where we sat back after we were in the lead and we stepped back as a team, and then we conceded late goals because we were defending with 11 men. And I think it was the goal yesterday where we were only with one or two men in the
Hmm.
back and we were
Yeah.
counted on. So it's hard to say what is the right decision for Eddie, when it's the right decision in which situation
Hmm.
to go on the pressing, keep on pressing, go for the second, third, or fourth goal, or do we step back and defend like a team? But then there's always the chance that the opponent will get to press on, they will keep up high and yeah, give us a real pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But
Um,
I hope that this time where we get so many goals will go away, because there are so many injuries, like you said. But there's Malik Chow playing game on game on game because
mhm,
he's no replacement. Miley out of position. He's amazing. But I think that I don't, it's hard to say that he has that he made mistakes, but it's not his real natural position. So
mhm.
maybe sometimes his position is a bit little a little bit off.
Yeah.
Or as we saw yesterday with a Trippier, he's class, but not that fast. And
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know. I think if we are now back on track after this, I wouldn't call it horrible, but not that good first half of the season. I think we now got the scoring on, and Eddie is working on all these defensive struggle.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's good that you mentioned Louis Miley because the fact that he plays right back and steps into the midfield so often can mean that we leave ourselves short defensively a little bit because three at the back is less than four at the back. And on Malik Thiaw, I've been thinking the same thing. I would like to see him just get rested for at least one game because, I mean, if he gets injured, knock on wood, we are in a whole world of trouble. Um,
That would be a mess.
I'm going to put you on the spot right here, but if we are looking at maybe fullback or center back cover on the market, are there any players who pique your interest? Possibly?
I don't know, not really. I was talking about with a friend yesterday, and we thought about who's available with how much money, but we didn't came to any conclusion. So if
Mhm.
we're talking about the big names,
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
not that aware if there's in maybe in League One in a midfield team anywhere a good right back or a good left back. I'm not that deep into it. But
well,
if we're talking of all the big names, I don't really see anyone.
mhm. Well, I mean, transfers are kind of my forte. I do love to dive into those, and I think this January period is going to offer a lot of possibilities for signings because on the one hand, you've got the expanded World Cup, so a lot of players who aren't getting the game time are going to be pushing for a move to get into the national team sides, and there are a lot more national team sides who are competing in this World Cup. So I think there's going to be a lot of moves happening there. And we've had the most insane summer window probably of all time just past us. So there's a lot of teams who still have a lot of money left from all of the sales they made to the bigger teams. Look at Bournemouth, who made 200 million just by selling defenders this summer. So I do think there are still a lot of signings which will be made, signings which will kick other signings into gear because teams will need replacements for the players they do sell. And it does mean that I think more deals will be able to be done this January. When it comes to specific profiles, I mean, there's one fullback I absolutely do want us to sign, and that's Joachim Sass at Club Brugge. I've been banging the drum for us to sign him for a number of months now because he is Tino Livramento on the left. He is a left back who is comfortable enough to play on the right. He's a left footer who actually has played on the right for 50% of his games for Club Brugge, so that's That's absolutely brilliant, and there's no drop off either side he plays. He's 20 years old, and this season his most impressive performance was against Barcelona, against Lamine Yamal, which, okay, it's probably easier to get motivated for a game like that, but also it tells me that he's probably quite well suited to translating tactical instructions onto the pitch, and that's something which Eddie Howe will absolutely love from him. When it comes to center backs, I think we should be looking at. I think at this moment in time, we need a young left-footed center back. That's really hard to find. Maybe Bichabu at Leipzig is a pretty interesting case. The 21-year-old Frenchman, I think he is. He is a left footer. He's really physical. Came through the Paris Saint-Germain academy, so that's a pretty good footballing pedigree. What do you think of those two suggestions? And is there any other positions you'd like to see us recruit in this January?
So from your perspective, it sounds very nice. I think the profile is clear for the center back. He has to be faster than Cher or Botman, maybe a bit more agile. Um, of course, he should be young because we have with Cher, Botman. Let's talk about Lascelles. Very, I would say, old football in football terms, old
Hmm.
defenders who aren't the fastest one, and the Premier League is one of the fastest league in the world. So it should be a young, fast, agile player.
Yeah, completely agree. And any other positions you'd like to recruit in?
I was thinking about earlier. I think in the midfield we could add maybe one rotation player at
Hmm.
least. So we're talking about Joe Linton, Tonali, Bruno. Those are the three who are set. Miley could go in there, but he's needed in everywhere else. But there's no real. uh, we have Ramsey, we have Willock, but both of them they're showing glimpses of what they are able to do, but not in a regular basis.
Hmm.
And that's what we need in the Premier League. And in Germany, we say you can't dance on three weddings at once. So you need players to rotate, and you need players they are capable of putting 100% on the field every
Hmm.
time when they play. So I think interesting in the midfield. I have one wish, but it's from my childhood
Hmm.
club Dortmund. It's the brother of Lukas Mecha who
Felix.
played against us. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Felix Mecha would be the perfect signing in our midfield with the game idea of Eddie
Hmm.
Howe, how he wants to play, how he's playing, because he's like a Joe Linton, but I think a bit more technical, a bit less of strength, but
Hmm.
he's really strong. At least he's a
Yeah.
bit more technical than Joe Linton.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. I do love that shout, to be honest. Felix Mecha to Newcastle, I think that could be a brilliant transfer for us. When it comes to the midfield, I've been thinking we need another signing in there as well for a while now, and I've been calling for a creative midfielder in there.
Yeah, definitely.
Which, I mean, yeah, I do still think we could use that, but I'm starting to wonder whether or not Eddie Howe is willing to use a creative presence in that
Yeah,
midfield.
that's the big thing.
Exactly. But if he isn't necessarily willing to rip up the script of the midfield balance he's got now, and he wants a more defensively minded controller of the game, I think someone like Felix and Mecha could be brilliant for us, or a player we've been linked with, Ruben Neves, who is now
Mhm.
willing to leave the Saudi league. He would be absolutely brilliant for us as well, because I've just been thinking if we sign someone to sit in the number six role, either be it as a destroyer or someone who can perform as a deep lying playmaker, with Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes, you've got two midfielders who can play either side of him, who've got the energy, who've got the defensive output, but who can also drive the ball forward. I think the balance in that midfield could be absolutely brilliant, and it could allow for Bruno Guimaraes to go up even further if you play someone like Lewis Miley, for example, and you can play. I mean, if Miley then slots into the midfield, you've got three midfielders in the first line with Tonali, Miley, and Ruben Neves or Mecha, and Bruno all the way up. So that could be brilliant. Bruno maybe even next to Voltemade in those number 10 zones with Visa up top. It's all they're all possibilities, but we do need to sign at least one midfielder to be able to change those styles around a little bit.
It all depends on what is thinking and dreaming of.
Hmm.
Is he willing to change up his system maybe with a 4-2-3-1 or anything where is a dedicated central midfielder who is only for the offensive side? Like Ramsey could fill this spot, but he's not on spot with his performances, and it's, it's sad
Agree. Yeah.
because I really like him. I like him play. I like his play of style of play, but yeah, I don't know. He showed glimpses here and there, but
Mm,
it's not this top-notch performance that we would need. I think yesterday we're coming back to that later. I think as we saw Walter a bit deeper in on the field, it changed the whole play. But
absolutely. Yeah.
if we're talking about all these transfers, it's without knowing what Eddie wants to do, it's really hard to suggest players because it's everything depends on what system he wants to play.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we will go on to the Bournemouth game, but I do think we should touch a little bit more on the last goal against Leeds United. So Bruno Guimaraes eventually scored a penalty. Thiago did give away the penalty. We conceded as well. Both penalties were hands. I mean, according to the letter of the law, sure, both were a penalty, so I don't think we need to go over both too long. But then 102nd minute, latest Premier League goal of all time. Harvey Barnes in what was a very, very messy situation in the box, slots it in past Lucas Perry in goal to make St. James's Park absolutely erupt with emotions. I mean, where were you when you were watching the game? Who were you with? How did you feel?
I was just alone watching the game on TV. But I had a déjà vu nearly the whole game, and at the latest with Barnes' goal in the 102nd minute, I had a massive déjà vu because I'm coming over, or me and my friends were coming over once a
Mhm.
year to St. James's Park from Germany, and the last game we were there was Fulham in 2025. It was
Okay.
boring 0-0.
Yeah.
But the game before that was West Ham in 2024, and it was
Okay.
a 4-3 win with a screamer from Harvey Barnes in the 90th minute. We were down by two, I think, 3-1 for West Ham in the
Mhm.
halftime. And I think Isak scored one penalty like Bruno yesterday, and then Barnes in the 80th minute and in the
Mhm.
92nd minute with that screamer from the left side of the penalty box.
Yeah, that's
And it
that's
was an
absolutely
amazing
brilliant.
game to be in St. James's Park. That's why I can imagine how massive the atmosphere, like we heard on the TV, obviously,
Yeah.
uh, how massive it was against Leeds. Especially because it was the first game this season where we ended up with points after where we were back
Oh
in the
yeah, yeah.
halftime.
After we went behind, yeah,
Yeah. That's what I meant.
yeah.
So
That
the
that
German
has been a problem this season.
commentator said that we not got a single point when we were behind at halftime
Mm. Yeah,
this season, and that's
yeah.
massive. Maybe for the mental
Completely
of the
agree.
players.
Especially for that mental side, it is really important because this has been the season where we drop points from winning positions and can't really claw back losing positions. So to be able to claw back a losing position three times against this lead side is absolutely incredible. And I mean, we're nearly halfway through January, and we still have not conceded a goal within the first 15 minutes of a game. So we do start pretty well as well. There are some okay statistics if you really go looking for them.
You
But
just have to dig deep.
exactly, yeah. But digging deep is exactly what Harvey Barnes did, and he got the 3 points for us on the line, which I mean, before the 90th minute, we were still behind and we were set like 12 in the league. And then we got the win over the line in the end, and now we are sixth after or behind Brentford in the league table, which is absolutely insane. Brentford in Champions League positions after losing Wissa, Mbuemo, Neurgaard, and Thomas Frank this summer. I mean, that's all you can really
Massive
say.
season for them.
When Brentford are the prime example of how a football club should be run, because they can absolutely lose everybody and anybody, and they will just be fine because the structure in place will just keep up the performance level to a high enough standard that I don't even think they will be relegated within the next 5 seasons. They are simply that well run. And Igor Thiago, man. I mean, when he was playing in Belgium, I thought it was just a lump up front, and now he's doing this in the Premier League. Damn,
Yeah, it's a great season for him, and
absolutely.
for the whole team, they adapt really well to all these losses of players in the summer. So exactly the opposite from that what we are doing, because we just lost one real big player with Alexander Isak, and we're still struggling with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I did bring up the league table because there's another fantastic thing that happened after this game. We have finally jumped the scum in the league table. So
Mind the gap.
exactly, mind the gap. That was a long time coming, but I sure do hope we now finally get to keep them behind us, keep our position where we belong in this league table, which is absolutely above Sunderland. Now, let's hear from Paul and his final reaction after this crazy game against Leeds.
Oh my, it's finished. Fucking hell, it's finished. Newcastle United 4, Leeds 3. We beat Leeds, we beat the referee, we beat the fucking lot of them. Literally, we're one hand tied behind our back. Lewis Miley, right back, midfielder, finished at centre back. Honestly, this lad's talent knows no ends. He's that damn fucking good. Love him, absolutely love him. Love St James's Park, especially when it's like that, at its bouncing best. Kevin Keegan's name, serenaded, sung throughout, was delightful. What a tribute. Terrible news. I was gutted just going into the stadium earlier on, and I was just screaming out at the end, do it for Fabi, do it for Keegan. Come on lads, just do it, pull one out of the hat. You know, we haven't looked like scoring like that all season. You know, we scored 4, we, you know, had one straight off the line, there was scrambles, there was pinball moments, hit the woodwork. You know, again, it's one of those games that it could have been anything, but it was in the true spirit of a Kevin Keegan type performance that we took that game on. And no doubt about it, the place felt injustice with what had gone on. They felt injustice with the refereeing performance, which, regardless of anything else, in the large part was subpar. It was biased. It was anti-Newcastle United again. Every fucking week we're getting this. We really are shortchanged off the refs. No home advantage at all. For us, certainly not. Leeds fans giving it large, giving it the biggin. You know, karma's a funny thing, and it does come to bite you in the arse. So careful what you say. And that's what came to happen. Singing, we all love Leeds and all this sort of thing, and taking the piss. Well, at the end of the day, they didn't take the piss for long, did they? Delighted with that. Also delighted to see the league table showing us above Sunderland, mind the gap, Sunderland fans. Their cup final against us at the Stadium of Light and all that sort of thing. But yeah, in our probably worst season we've had in a couple of years, we're still above you in the league. We're in the semi-final of the League Cup, doing well in the Champions League. Obviously haven't entered the FA Cup yet, but that is next up for Newcastle United. And I am fucking delighted. I will not get in until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll be back up again for fatherly duties, breakfast, school runs and stuff like that at 6:30 tomorrow morning. But yeah, I'll have a couple of hours sleep, but I'll be absolutely bouncing. I'll be bouncing around the house. Ben will be delighted as well, of course. He's becoming a big Newcastle United fan. I've just got to be persuaded that Anthony Gordon isn't the best swinger in the league. She's adamant that he is. Harvey Barnes, brilliant. I think that's for the, yeah, I think that's probably for the Leeds lot. Harvey Barnes, class. Bruno, what a captain, what a guy, what a man. Joe Linton. I thought he was going to kill the referee when he didn't get the penalty on the stroke of half time. I really did. He had to be held back. He was literally going to swing for the ref. But credit to him, he held himself together. He put in a fantastic performance. And playing in a slightly more advanced role did brilliantly for me. A contender for man of the match, certainly. It's hard not to look at Lewis Miley, right back, central midfielder in the pivot, and then centre back. I hope and I pray that the news on Fabian Schär is better than I saw. He was down there, teasing his eyes. He looked in a bad way. He put a good challenge in. I was gutted for him. Like I say, I was sat slumped in my chair, in my seat, watching on, and for 5 minutes, I literally, it was like I couldn't have given a fuck about anything else happening. I was just gutted. I was already gutted going in about the Keegan stuff, but I was gutted doubly over with what happened to Fabian going off the stretcher and stuff. That could be his career up at Newcastle United, out of contract in the summer. What will the decision be? I don't know. He's a quality player, brilliant human being, terrific servant for Newcastle United. So I'm praying for good news, but I don't expect to receive it. But I think the only good news, the consolation for today, is the 4-3 victory. We're down again on numbers. We'll have Malik Chow and Sven Botman for the weekend available at centre back. How long Dan Burney's off, I don't know. Probably not long. Jamal Lascelles, if anybody's seen, or apologies, the voice is giving up. If anybody has seen Jamal Lascelles, yeah, please send details through to Magpie 24/7 and pass them on to the club. Jamal Lascelles missing in action. Don't know where he is. Don't know what he's doing. Picking up a chunk of wages. But Eddie Howe spoke in his press conference earlier in the week, did he not, about keeping powder dry? And you know, only reacting if there's sort of injuries and stuff. This may force us into a move into the transfer market. We may just say, look, we'll go with what we've got, but I don't think Alex Murphy's ready because he wasn't given an opportunity today. We've got 2 fit centre backs. We've got Dan Burn to come back. I don't think 3 centre backs will be enough for the rest of the season, so I can see us going out to try and get a loan or bring a transfer forward from the summer. But that's a worry for a different day. It really, really is. I'm just delighted we've got the victory. That's the third on the bounce. Some momentum, some positivity, some optimism. We're scoring a few goals as well now. Absolutely and utterly fucking delighted. Who's going to be man of the match? So many, like I say, to pick up on. Whether it be Barnes, whether it be Bruno, whether it be Miley. I thought the game changed as well when we brought Livermendo on. Just to spice things up, I thought we had more balance, purpose, drive, intensity, more running. And our fullbacks are probably our most creative players. So to have them on our 2 first pick fullbacks helps us massively. Anyway, I've rabbited on for far too long, but I'm over the moon. I'm delighted. I'm happy. I've just witnessed a great game of football. I've been dancing around like I was 10, 11 or 12 again. So I want to get in the car, get the heating whapped on, get back home, digest the performance, digest the result, and I will have a spring in my step tomorrow. There's no doubt about that. Bring on the FA Cup now at the weekend.
But are there any other things you would like to still discuss from this game in particular?
From the Leeds game, not really, no.
Okay,
I think
fantastic.
we said everything. It was a great performance. It was mentally very important to bag in these 3 points at home, coming back from being behind in the halftime. And I think we saw some glimpses of that yesterday. This mental thing that carried over from the Leeds game to the Bournemouth game. Like, we can do it. We know we are better.
Mhm.
And I hope traditionally January, February, March, those are the big months for us where we perform really well, even if the schedule is doubled
Yeah.
from the first half of the season, so it makes no sense that we should be more tired and so on. But normally in the last years we didn't saw that in January and
Mhm.
February. So I hope that we can take it from game to game and carry on and climb that table. But you have to admit the last 2 or 3 games, not from us, from the whole league, everyone played
Mhm.
for us. There were so many draws.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Wolverhampton winning against, I think, Manchester United, or playing,
Yeah,
I
I
think they
think
won
Wolves drew, and they won against,
West Ham 3
yeah,
3-0.
yeah, yeah. West
Yeah,
Ham also looking very likely to go down, by the way.
yeah, of course.
What an unbelievable season this is turning out to be.
They have to really strengthen up if they want to get
Mhm.
Nottingham or Leeds. But as we talked about, I don't think that Leeds will go down.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I
And
think
Bournemouth is another 4 points away. So I think there's only really Nottingham who are maybe in struggles. But I think they won. Yeah, they won against West Ham, the direct.
exactly. Yeah, that was
It will be hard for them.
a relegation cracker. And to be fair, West Ham wasn't bad in that game. Nottingham Forest did just steal it late because they are more confident than West Ham are at this moment in time. And I've got to be honest, I'm also not a fan of what West Ham are doing with their strikers either. Um, I'm going over this really quickly, but 30 million for Tati Castellanos, a player who cannot even score 10 plus goals in the Serie A, and then 20 million for Pablo, a striker you're buying from Gil Vicente, which is always a risk. However many goals he scored in the Portuguese league, and then you're selling. I mean, Fulkrug is now loaned out to AC Milan. Sure, you didn't seem to be able to keep him fit, so fine, but he did play very well for AC Milan in his debut. And you've already ripped up the contract of Callum Wilson, a player who, if he's fit, and he's been fit for a big part of the first half of the season, has been West Ham's best attacker. He doesn't necessarily score the goals anymore he used to score, but he's so important for them in hold up play, in the general focal point of being a striker. He was so not necessarily he wasn't West Ham's most important player, but he was helping them to just move up the pitch by playing it long to him, keeping the ball up for a few seconds, allowing the other attackers to close in. Bowen has not been having a great season at all, so why are you ripping up the script of both your strikers and going for two complete risks? It does baffle me a bit.
I read the news with Callum Wilson contract is loosen up. I don't really know if there's any background to it. I was
I,
wondering if there's anything happened there, if he's unhappy, if the club is unhappy, if something.
yeah, I thought so too, but I couldn't find anything in specific, so I think we just have to chalk it up to West Ham's owners being a bit ridiculous yet again. I do hope for his sake he gets the return to his boyhood club Coventry because they are looking very likely to be going up this season and are having a pretty good January period as well. So that would be a fairy tale homecoming for him. I would love that to see for him.
Definitely. He's 33 years old, so another 2, 3, 4 years maybe in playing if his body is capable of that. And I think that's the big question. If
Yeah.
he won't get back to his prime performance, I would say. But if his body has something in it, then he can play 2, 3 years, especially for Coventry. Would be a nice story for him.
Mhm. Absolutely. And then Coventry would already have a Premier League quality striker when coming up because, I mean, a player like Callum Wilson, it is solely his injury record which is holding him back. Because if you filter his stats, even today, through per 90 minutes, he is still a world-class striker. He absolutely is. So it's unfortunate to see his body deteriorate the way it does.
Yeah,
But yeah. On some other notable places in this Premier League table. Tottenham are 14th, Crystal Palace are 13th, despite being fourth a couple of games ago. Everton are 12th. They've also been fourth a couple of times this season. The table is unbelievably close. We've got Man United and Chelsea behind us, both of whom sacked their manager over the start of January, which is a very strange place to be as well. Um, Before we maybe talk a bit more about those teams, let's listen to what Paul's final thoughts were on the Leeds game, because I mean, he will probably have been over the moon as well, seeing as he went to the stadium. And then I want to ask you, Enzo Maresca, Ruben Amorim, very quickly before we move on to the Bournemouth result. I mean, what are your thoughts? What is going on?
I'm really unsure what they are doing. So I think both are great managers in their own ways. So Maresca, he learned from Pep Guardiola, I think. He was with him many years, and I think he's a great manager. But those clubs like United, like Chelsea, they are so fast with their decisions, and if it's not working in their way, there will be heads rolling. So I think if Eddie Howe would be their manager, he would get sacked if
Hmm.
they played the first half of the season like we did. So
Absolutely.
I think it's a different mindset there. And Amorim, he was under pressure from day one because he came from the Portuguese league
Hmm.
and he didn't deliver the results they wanted in the first games, I think.
Hmm.
So everyone was talking from day one, he won't be long here in Manchester United, and is he the right one?
Hmm.
And we're still dreaming of Ferguson. And I think it's crazy. I'm like I said in the group chat once, I'm not a fan of criticizing managers for everything, for players who are not capable of playing a straight pass
Hmm.
around 8 meters. And yeah, you blame the manager because it's his idea. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I do completely agree, especially with that last point, because it seems to be the conversation nowadays that whenever something is going wrong or not right at a football club, the easiest decision to make is to sack the manager and to go again, which I'm not for either. Um, Maresca and Amorim both seem to be sackings which don't necessarily involve too many footballing reasons and more so club hierarchy and misunderstanding their place in this hierarchy. But I mean, Maresca, first of all, I think his sacking is the harshest of the lot because everything Chelsea will have set out for him to achieve beforehand, he did achieve. They competed in the Conference League, he won that. They competed in the Club World Cup, he won that. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter how much value you put into both competitions because he competed and he won in both. That's all I'm saying. He was tasked with bringing Chelsea back to the Champions League. Chelsea are back in the Champions League. So performance-wise, he's absolutely done everything he was supposed to do. Yes, this was a bit more of a difficult season, but we also know Chelsea struggle in December-January periods with fixture congestion, with motivating their squad the same way they do for an Arsenal game when they are playing Leeds, for example. That has been a problem with Chelsea for a long time. Do I think Maresca was the problem there? No, not at all. And to be honest, I'm quite surprised Manchester United haven't gone in and already swooped him away. Now he's available because he has worked with the people who make the decisions at Manchester United, aka Barada and Wilcox, at Manchester City. So they all three of them know each other already. But Manchester United seem to want to go in for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer until the end of the season. I mean, him on an interim basis, I don't necessarily hate because his way of playing football is very counter-attacking with four at the back, and that's something I think this squad suits very, very well. But if he then does well, and people will start about giving him the contract again, that's where it goes wrong. Because the whole reason you give him the interim job is because there are going to be so many managers available this summer. If you look at the Premier League, Iraola, Glasner, Marco Silva, all three of those managers have contracts which run out in the summer. And then you look at the World Cup managers: Pochettino, Nagelsmann, Tuchel. Even someone like Marcelo Bielsa at Uruguay, all of those managers also only have contracts until after the World Cup. So there's massive opportunities to actually attract a really, really, really good coach if you're Manchester United this summer. So I do understand going with a interim manager. As for Chelsea and Liam Rosenior, who has now come in, first of all, I want to say whatever I think of Chelsea, and it's usually not the most positive ideas, I do think it is something which should be applauded and should be rooted for that they have appointed a young British black manager. That is something which every football fan should wish he succeeds for. But when we're talking purely characteristics, I do kind of see similarities with the Graham Potter scenario in the fact that I think there is a chance he gets eaten alive in this job. But if we're talking the profile of manager, I do think Liam Rosenior looks like a very intelligent guy. He speaks really, really well in the media. I thought his first press conferences was great, apart from the fact that he kept um, talking about the Strasbourg job in the same way. Like the Chelsea job, he said, I'm going to do the same things, which I don't think will work for him. But apart from that, I do think this is an incredibly intelligent manager, and I am very much looking forward to see what he will be able to do in the Premier League. I do already want to warn Chelsea fans, if he's going to ask Robert Sanchez to do the same things as Mike Penders is doing for Strasbourg, ouch. You're going to see a lot of goalkeeper mistakes because Penders walks in between the center backs. It's actually unbelievable. But yeah, that's the Premier League table. Are there any other thoughts you have on this current Premier League table, which is looking absolutely bonkers?
Not really, but a point for the Chelsea Manchester United thing. Like I said, he as Maresca achieved everything for Chelsea that he was supposed to reach. But like I said, I think there should be other reasons, or could be other reasons. Maybe like Tuchel back in Dortmund, where he had one of the best points. How's it called? The
About points per game ratio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. The points per game ratio. But he was sacked anyway because the owners, so we have no owners in Germany, but
Hmm.
the board wasn't happy with him. They clashed together in different ways and different topics. Maybe it
Yeah.
is something like that behind closed doors that we
Yeah.
don't know.
I think so too.
But this Rosenio is his name, yeah.
Hmm.
Have to admit I never heard of him,
Yeah.
but when I saw this mentioned press conference, he talked good, but he reminds me of Mike McDaniels. I don't know if
Hmm.
you're watching football, so American football,
Oh,
uh,
no, I
but
don't. I don't. Tell
he
me.
really reminds me of Mike McDaniels from the Miami Dolphins.
Hmm.
So a young guy looking a bit like a genius,
Uh-huh.
but he delivered to half of the season maybe, but now after 1.5 seasons he got sacked. So
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if this is a good
And
omen,
is it
but
is it also because he got swallowed alive a bit by the size of the job he was taking on?
he was questioned from day one because he
Hmm.
was maybe too young. The players don't respect him, maybe
Yeah.
all this stuff going around, cursing through the media. I think it's never
Hmm.
good if you are that polarizing, maybe in a way,
Yeah.
not like Mourinho, but all these topic here, topic there.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't help the team when the manager is talked about most. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a stressful situation, I think, for the manager and also for the team if he's questioned by the media, by
Hmm.
the fans.
Absolutely. Look at
Everyone
Tottenham right now, for
is
example.
everyone is nearly waiting for him to make mistakes or yeah, I told you earlier this would not work or anything like that. It's hard for them, I think.
Hmm.
But maybe we see a good turnaround of Chelsea and even Manchester United, whoever they will get as a manager.
Absolutely. On Rossinier, I mean, it did make sense for Chelsea to go for the Strasbourg manager because they are the same family, so they do want to get that identity flow in between those two clubs going so that it's easier to make the step up between the two of them. I For their sake, I hope they don't persist with this strategy because that would mean the next manager, aka the manager who has replaced Liam Rosinia at Strasbourg, is going to be Gary O'Neill, which is a very strange situation to be in. But on Rosinia, he's overperformed at Strasbourg, got them into the Conference League when they were only just back into the league. And okay, the blue collar money has got a lot to do with that. But even his job before was with Hull City in the Championship, a team who again only just got promoted back from the League One, so third tier, and they immediately finished just behind the playoffs with actually pretty great squad of players who he developed and who he got a very big tune out of. So both jobs he's had before, he's absolutely done very well in. So I'm curious to see how he takes on this Chelsea job. As for the one person we haven't maybe touched upon in those two clubs, Ruben Amorim, I think Ruben Amorim should have been sacked a long time ago. I'm gonna be honest. Um, I don't like sacking managers and I don't like preaching for managers to be sacked, so I would never go online and ask for Ruben Amorim to be sacked, but now he is gone. I think he survived a little bit too long on aura. What I mean by that is he should have realized that playing a back three system when you have 26 players who all are more comfortable in playing a back four is just not the way to go. It's good to have your own philosophy, but if you're too rigidly stuck to that philosophy, you're only going to keep a team like Manchester United back. And the fact that just about a month ago he was talking in press conferences about maybe having to switch to a back four permanently because he is not going to get the time, the players, or the investment to go to the system he wants to play. And then I think if you already can see that you don't have the players to play a certain system, why are you continuously playing that system? Why is he so hell bent on playing two people in the midfield and one of them being Bruno Fernandes? He's now also made the pathway for Oli to come in and be an absolute fan favorite yet again, as easy as it can be, because there's only already one massive victory which Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can do by just lining up his first squad for his first game, and that is simply putting Kobe Mainoo in the starting 11. If you put Kobe Mainoo in the starting 11, you've got every Manchester United fan on board from day one.
Yeah, that's
So
sometimes it's easy.
yeah, absolutely. But if you have a look at the squad, I mean, Stena Lamans has been a pretty good signing. The right backs, Dalot and Mazraoui, fine. Center backs, De Ligt on the right, Licha and Yoro rotating in between one another and Heaven maybe in some games as well. Shaw on the left, a double pivot of Casemiro, Orugart and Mainoo. Bruno in the 10 with Cunha on the left and Buemo on the right. Šeško in striker. That's a pretty fucking good team. If Manchester United can't get Europe with that team, that is solely on Ruben Amorim. Manchester United finished fifth. Okay, they didn't have the attack they had, but still 15th in the Premier League. I genuinely do think Ruben Amorim has not made the job any easier for himself during the time he's been there, and I do think this sack is purely down to him because what was that press conference he got sacked for in even? I mean, yeah. I don't know if there is anything else you would like to add on that little Ruben Amorim rant.
I know you first of all, I think you're right with everything you're saying. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he can win the fans, he can win the board if he plays a normal, I would say a normal squad. So
Absolutely.
no
Yeah.
experiments, just the ones you trust the most. You saw the season, so over the season, who you can trust, who you can't trust, maybe. But just a general thing, it fits to Amorim, but to many other managers. I think every top manager has a formation, a system he's favoring, he has it in
Mhm.
mind, and if he comes to a club, he wants to evolve it there, he wants to establish it there. And if you're at a club like nearly every Premier League club, especially like City, United,
Mhm.
Liverpool, and so on, who has unlimited spending available, so you can buy players, you need to really press everything into your system. Like Guardiola did it over the years, but sometimes managers, for example, Amorim, they are too narrow-minded,
Hmm.
so they won't change it in even a tiny bit. Maybe sometimes you have to look, there are my 30 players, my 35 players, don't know how many ones they have. I look over, yeah, could
Hmm.
be about 31.
Yeah.
So you have to look at them and say, maybe I should change my system a bit because it will fit better to all these players I have here.
Mhm.
So it makes no sense if you have maybe three number nines. It doesn't make sense to play one, maybe. Or if you have four left backs and two right backs, it doesn't make sense to play a three at the back.
Hmm. Exactly.
But I think it was Amorim's fault to be too narrow-minded and to try and try and try over and over and over again to fit all these players into his system, and this didn't work out in the end.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head because this modern day football atmosphere seems to be one where those rigid kind of managers who are wedded to one way of playing seem to be losing their jobs more often. I'm thinking about Ange, for example, who was also a manager who was absolutely wedded to his style of play. I think if he had just one pragmatic bone in his body, he would still be in a Tottenham Hotspur job. Hansi Flick has come under some pressure for Barcelona this season as well, because they always have so much space in behind of them, which meant Club Brugge could draw 3-0 with them and maybe even go out and win that game. They got swept off of the park by Chelsea. So a lot of managers do seem to need to make that transition into more flexibility. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and,
Yeah,
and
on
and
those
there's the
points.
bridge over to Newcastle United because I won't criticize Eddie, but
Hmm.
sometimes maybe he's a bit too narrow-minded on his style of playing.
Yeah, I do hear that as well. Is his style of play maybe? I mean, we did try some new things this season, some of which worked out, some of which didn't. I'm very happy we have stopped folding back so much when we got in front because that was absolutely a killer for us. Every single time we did so, we still conceded. Um, but I do think the facet of Eddie Howe's game in which I agree most with what you're saying is his substitutions. It is so unbelievably Eddie Howe to just swap a striker for a striker, swap a winger for a winger, swap a midfielder for a midfielder. And I get that making substitutions is probably a lot more difficult than we think it is because he's got a lot more to take into account the fitness levels of his players, which he will know almost exactly in detail. And also, what has happened on the training pitch over the last few weeks is also very important to making substitutions. But for example, the Man United game is the one which comes to mind, where we are so dominant, the only team who is still creating stuff. But then in the 65th minute, he still changes a striker for a striker, a midfielder for a midfielder. And that is just really frustrating if you're watching a game like that where you know you are the dominant side, but you're still not getting any shots away. Then you want to see something change.
Yeah, I get this point. I think it's not comparable, but I coached an under 15, under 16, under
Mm.
17 team for 3 years, and it's not at all comparable. But if you see it from the outside, from the TV or from the stadium, whatever,
Mm.
and then you are in this position, even if it's like city football here in town,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you are in a different position, and you're thinking about sometimes different about these situations. So looking at the Manchester United game, you're very dominant, but you don't get it right on the goal. So the last one or two passes are always off. So yeah, you could sit on the TV and think, yeah, why isn't he changing the system a little bit? Maybe give them a new task to defend and so on. But on the other side, he's sitting there or standing there on the line at the line and thinking, we're playing so well, but we don't get the shots on the goal. But I don't want to change the system because it works so well. It just needs a little so a little spark of
Hmm.
of someone maybe. So I'm changing, let's say, don't know where what the changes are, but CM for CM, and yeah, we need to continually playing that dominant, and the chance will come.
Hmm.
We just have to stay like how we are, and in the end, you are always wiser.
Absolutely,
That
yeah, yeah. Hindsight is
it's in, I
2020, as
know
they say.
that when you're in in this situation, you're thinking a bit different
Hmm.
from
Absolutely.
being outside.
Absolutely. And Eddie is a pretty pragmatic manager, which is something, I mean, I'm happy with that because I prefer a pragmatic manager over a manager which you aren't even comfortable having a 3-0 lead with. So that has to be said about Eddie. But I do think his pragmatism is visible in a lot more than just his substitutions because over the summer he got a lot more say into transfers than probably he would have wanted as well. But you see that with that being the case, players like Jacob Ramsey, who are almost an identical profile to someone like Joe Willock, or Elanga, who is an almost identical profile to someone like, I mean, I think we would have hoped he would have been more similar to Anthony Gordon, but I think he's a bit more similar to Jacob Murphy without the crossing ability.
Mm.
So having some profiles who are more radically different from what we already possess in this squad, I think could have benefited us a lot more in those positions.
Yeah, that's right, of course. So I don't want to glaze Eddie in a way. He's a great manager, but sometimes, yeah, of course, his substitutions, I think it was last season where he brought up Ozula always in the
Hmm.
88th,
Yeah.
89th minute, and everyone was thinking, why we did it why we substituted Isak maybe a bit earlier to rest him and doesn't get the injury risk, but yeah, sometimes his substitutions are really a bit off, and his how's it called, pragmatism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, with these transfers, yeah, I think he had an idea with Elanga because if we look back 1, 2, 3 years, we played this crazy pressing nearly over 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But now, as I said earlier, you can't dance on four weddings at the same time.
Hmm.
So we are in four
Yep.
competitions, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, League,
EFL,
FA
FA,
Cup,
Champions
EFL,
League, Premier League. Yep.
Champions League, yeah. So if we look back to the first half of the season, we saw us, like we talked earlier about setback when we are in the lead, trying to defend it, trying to rest the squad a little bit because you can't play in four competitions and play 90-minute pressing like
Absolutely.
we did 2 years ago, maybe, where we only had two competitions, for example.
Hmm.
So I think he had an idea with Elanga because he came from Nottingham.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were sitting deep, and his abilities to put on these counterattacks. Yeah.
Hmm.
That was his big ability from Elanga. I think that's where his goal contributions and his assists came from, sitting deep, getting the ball in the back four, and then
Rushing
uh,
forward with it.
yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think that was Eddie's idea to give the squad a bit more versatility,
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
make them more versatile. If we sit back, then Elanga and maybe Gordon on the other side can put on these counterattacks
Hmm.
and get us then the second goal, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. When we played like this, he doesn't deliver it.
Hmm.
So if that sorry,
No
need
worries.
to find my words. When he played and we played this pressing, it wasn't his game. Like we saw, Elanga wasn't really performing well.
Hmm.
Well, but then we sit back in another game, and normally you would say this is Elanga's game, that is perfect for him, but he didn't deliver neither.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a very, very interesting point because I hadn't really considered it, but you're spot on. That is completely the way Forest did play last season and got the best out of Elanga. And to be fair, we have tried to sit back when we got in front against teams. sometimes this season, and usually that has come back to bite us in the ass. So I hope we don't do that anymore. I hope we don't just sit back and defend one goal leads. But that is absolutely the best way of playing when you've got someone like Elanga who is brilliant at setting up counterattacks with his undeniable speed. I also do think he is just so unbelievably low in confidence that everything he's trying just isn't coming off, and that makes him seem like a worse player than he actually is.
Yeah,
He'll probably
it doesn't make
come
this easier for him.
absolutely, yeah, he'll probably come somewhat good, but yeah, I do think having someone who is probably a bit more composed on the ball, who can slow down the tempo of play, who can look for a cross or cut inside and shoot on his left foot, would have maybe been a more interesting profile for us to go looking for on the right. Someone like a Mathias Soulé at AS Roma, for example.
Yeah, that could be.
All right. You've already touched upon all four of the competitions. Yes, yesterday we finally played our first game of the last competition we hadn't competed in yet. The FA Cup has now already started for us. Immediately a pretty rough draw with Bournemouth, but 3-3 in the end and a 7-6 win on penalties. So we left it late yet again. Let's listen to what Paul's thoughts were on the starting lineup for this game.
So big game, result all important. Performance maybe less so. I expect to see changes today, but I still expect to see Newcastle United in the hat for the fourth round after the conclusion of today's game. So yeah, massive opportunity. Seeing the team, happy enough with that. Vista and Voldemar, I'll be interested to see how they play together. And hopefully they go for it and attack a little bit. But yeah, cool day, but optimistic.
And then I want to hear yours as well, because I mean, Livramento and Trippier were the fullbacks, Botman and Thiaw were the centre backs. Ramsdale got back in goal for this one. Bruno was rested because we had a double pivot of Jacob Ramsey and Sandro Tonali, with Willock and Barnes on the wings, Voltemade in at number 10, and Wissa in at the striker role. So a very, very interesting lineup. What were your thoughts before the game, and how did you think this lineup worked for us?
I'm a bit confused now because my flash score is stating a 4-3-3 with Wisa on the right wing, but I have in mind how we played. So let's start with Ramsdale. I think it's a good call if you have two good keepers. Play the one in the cups, play the other one in the league. So I don't like it if maybe Pope plays 3 or 4 competitions and the other one is sitting there on the bench and just
Agreed.
waiting for an injury. So just keep him fit, let him collect these minutes, getting confidence, and I think it was a big confidence boost for him
Hmm.
yesterday.
Wow.
So it couldn't work any better. So Livramento is clear. I think Hall was a bit, yeah, he wasn't injured, but he was a bit off.
Hmm. Tired, probably.
So Botman, no, no alternatives.
Exactly. Yeah.
So with Livramento on the left, there is no alternative for the right back instead of Miley.
Hmm.
So Trippier was a good call if he's fit. And
Happy to see him back.
I thought it was an interesting formation or lineup with normally if they are at 100%, you have Ramsey and Willock to really creative
Hmm.
midfielders with Tonalo like the classic worker. And we saw the first time Voltemade and Visa together, so that's was the big point. What stands out from this
Yeah,
lineup?
yeah, I think so too. And this was a very experimental lineup, but I think we showed a lot of control in this game, actually. A lot more control than a 3-3 scoreline would suggest, probably. And I mean, this control did mostly go out of the window in extra time, where, I mean, we did also have the most possession, but Bournemouth were the most threatening on the counter attack. But during the first 90 minutes, I thought we were genuinely very, very well set up to keep possession of the ball, to slowly chip away at Bournemouth's defense. And I think on a different day where we hadn't such an emotionally draining midweek game, we could have seen this game out 2-0, in my opinion, because we were the better team. And Bournemouth just seemed to have this way of finding goals out of nowhere with Alex Scott and David Brooks scoring both goals in regular time. I mean, I suggest we already have a listen to what Paul's halftime thoughts were.
So half time, it's nil apiece, and yeah, that was absolutely and utterly a bit of a shit show, to be honest. No imagination, no energy, no decent passing. Far too slow to be able to make decisions into which way the ball was going to go. Didn't work the keeper anywhere near enough. Lacked intensity, flow. You can't blame it on the changes. I don't think the midfield's particularly worked, if I'm being honest. And I expect them to get a little bit of a flea in the ear at half time of Eddie Howe. We need to see a lot more attacking intent from the lads. So yeah, hopefully a few harsh words being spoken about, a few home truths. We do have options on the bench, obviously, to change it up if we need to do so. And I think there will be plenty of changes in the second half. Protect the players ahead of Tuesday is obviously far more important semi-final game. But ultimately, they've got to get the business done today. No excuses. Bournemouth, backed by about, well, maybe 5 or 6 fans in the away end, haven't offered much as well. The referee, once more, this is just a repeated thing I've said every single game. The referee has been frustrating, head scratcher, doesn't want the flow of the game just to go. I don't understand it. I don't know what the instructions are from the bosses, the powers that be. But week after week after week, game after game after game, these referees are just literally just destroying the life and soul of the game. I put an article up on the page about it recently. It certainly sparked plenty of debate about it. And he is one off the old chopping block, this lad. He really, really is. I was hoping, I said before the game had started, that it would be nice to get a decent one, or maybe somebody who gives the home side a little bit more favour. But no, we get somebody who just, I don't particularly think he even understands the rule book, and probably somebody who just likes to make it all about himself. However, back to the game. Changes, I expect to see them in the second half. I expect to see a much better performance. Get the ball out, get it crossed in nice and early, get some shots away, use the height of Voldemade, because we haven't at all so far, and set pieces need to improve also. So fingers crossed, still optimistic we'll get a result out of this one and through to the 4th round. And to be honest, I think the highlight of the first half and half time is the fact that I don't see Justin Logwood so far. So, things are looking up already. Anyway, back over there, Ian.
And then we immediately move on to, I mean, shall we immediately move on to the end of the game, or is there something you would still like to talk about from, the
we
main
need to
chunk?
discuss this Voldemade Visa thing, right?
Yeah, actually,
So
you're right. Absolutely. Yeah.
we all the people I read on Facebook, on WhatsApp, on Instagram, everyone, every week, every game, there are the same comments. Let's play Voldemade and Visa together when we are seeing them together. And
Yeah.
now it was time, and everyone was really happy, I think.
Absolutely. And what
And
did
I
you think
think
of them?
we won't see it too often again, I said, because of this stretch at January.
Mhm.
But it was really interesting, I think. And I don't want to glaze Voldemade. Of course, I like him. He's a German. He's our German big guy.
Absolutely.
And we saw him struggling in the first half of the season. When he came, he was struggling with the pace of Premier League. He was struggling with his body. He's still struggling a little bit with his ability to push off defenders, because he's big, but not big
Yeah.
in like a Joel Linton, for
Yeah,
example.
you're right.
But he has a nice foot. And normally when he played the games before with us as a lonely striker, he wasn't involved that much. So he came back, he sits deep to get the ball, to maybe play a 1-2 pass. But he wasn't involved really in this attacking game because of his, I don't want to call it slowness, but when he came deep and passed the ball back, then he wasn't able to be up front in the penalty box fast enough sometimes. And now we saw him deeper than Wissa, because he had someone in his back, and he was so much more involved in this game. He had so
Absolutely.
many more touches, and like we saw this brilliant assist on Barnes. So the haters were talking about the Leeds assist. It was just a kid's assist, holding his foot in. But now
I
he,
mean,
he
on the Leeds
showed
assist, really quickly, yes, it is the
Yeah.
slightest of touches, but if you have a look at the whole scenario of play there, the way he is holding off the defender the entire time, right before and right after he gets the ball, is the entire reason that Barnes gets the opportunity to shoot
yeah,
there. So I think he
definitely.
needs to be getting more credit for that assist.
Definitely, yeah. And I think I'm a person who hates selfish players.
Hmm.
And yesterday we saw the great example even at the Leeds game. So other strikers would have controlled the ball and tried to shoot right on the turn, but he gave it to Barnes. And yesterday there was the situation with, I think Barnes put it up behind his feet to Voltemade, and he could have shot with the left foot, but he plays it over to Wissa, who to
Hmm.
try to finesse it in.
Yes,
But yeah, he isn't selfish, and I like that as a player because he always has had his head up and looks if there's anyone in a better position.
completely
And yeah,
agree.
the assist yesterday with his outside foot, perfect pass for
Hmm.
Barnes, it was amazing. So
Yeah,
I think when we have a third striker, maybe this winter, maybe next summer, I see the potential that Eddie maybe switches up a bit or gets a
hmm,
bit more creative and sometimes throws both in. And I think it could work really good if the midfield, I think Ramsey Willock isn't the best duo if we have Bruno on the bench, of course.
hmm.
But if we would play them together with the whole top team, like Hall, Livramento, and Bruno Tonali, Joe Linton at the moment, that
Yeah.
would be a great lineup.
I completely agree. I think so too. I think playing Voltemade in that number 10 surprisingly gave us a lot more control with with his combination play with the midfielders. I thought the fact that he always does nearly everything first time as well is something that gives defenders absolutely no time to anticipate on what's going on. So if we can get those first touch combinations going a little bit higher up the field, I think those could be absolutely devastating for opponents. Um, and with players who have a lot of pace around him, like you say, Ramsey and Willock, who are more creative, but also Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes are not slow at all. Harvey Barnes, Elanga, Gordon, Murphy, Visa, all of them are incredibly fast. So to have those fast players who can use Voltemade both as a focal point to play off of and to combine with when trying to move the ball further up the pitch themselves, that could be so brilliant for us. So yeah, I'm all here to see Nick Voltemade play in the number 10 as well.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to glaze him. He still has to adapt, of course.
Absolutely.
And I think we will see the best of him in the next season when he really feels like home. So
Hmm.
when he really adapts to all this Premier League stuff and all these many competitions, many games, especially from winter to summer. But he's on a great way. I think he backs in those assists, sometimes those goals, and I think it's a big confidence boost for him. And this, I wouldn't call it as a number 10. He's more like a false nine, maybe, but with this support from like a Wissa. So he has in mind, I don't need to be at the front. So because
Hmm.
there's Visa already, I can slow the game down a little bit or be in the back, maybe waiting on the penalty box outside for a ball bouncing out, something like that. I think that is really his playing style in the squad.
Completely agree. Yeah, I think that's a very good point, and I am very excited to see both of them playing with one another again in the future. But as you say, with the fixture congestion in January, I don't think that's going to happen too much this month. That fixture congestion took us, unfortunately, to extra time. We did equalize very late through a penalty. Um, I mean, it was a fake up, so as soon as they blew the whistle for the penalty, I knew it was going to be one. There wasn't much discussion there, I think, about the penalty. Gordon put it away very brilliantly, in my opinion, because that was a very high pressure situation and he had to wait a long time before he was able to kick it, but he slotted it away in the corner very nicely. And in extra time, we did score another late winner through Harvey Barnes yet again, but unfortunately gave it away 2 minutes later. And it had to go to penalties where Aaron Ramsdale came up clutch. Let's listen to what Paul's final thoughts were on that Bournemouth fixture.
Well, it's Newcastle United, and we never, ever, ever do it the simple way. We always find the most complicated, long, drawn out way to do anything. And that was definitely what it was today. Look, I said in my first voice note before the match that, the result was all important. It's all about being in the hat for the next round. You take it step by step and let's just see how far we can go in it. And we're certainly in the hat. However, stoppage time ahead of Manchester City in the semi-final first leg was not what the doctor ordered. It really wasn't. But we did it ourselves. We really, really did. We didn't even try, I don't think, the first half. It was a bit of a perplexing performance, to be honest. Didn't do a great deal of much. Got to half time. Expected there would be a flea in the ear. There was a little bit of a reaction, a little bit of step up in performance, but not notably, not too much. I didn't see a fantastic, game, to be honest. Um, we get ourselves again in the lead. And you're thinking, look, from there, you go and get another one. And we did. We nearly did. We obviously had the attempt that was crashed back off the crossbar. If it goes 2-0, you've got to think that it's game, set, and match at that point. But as I touched upon before, it's Newcastle United. It's never going to go the easy way. They get the equaliser, they go ahead, probably deservedly so, to be honest, in the little spell that they did have. And then it's up to Newcastle. We haven't done this season good enough when it's come to chasing the game from being behind, but we stuck at it. We thought we'd got a goal that was ruled out towards the end. We thought it's going to be one of them days. It was freezing Baltic watching on. It really was. Not as quite as cold as last Sunday, but still pretty bad. And we got our salvation right at the end of the game. We got our get out of jail card. Anthony Gordon up steps, coolest man inside a very, very, very cold St James's Park, and smashes the ball in the net. We take it to extra time, and you want them to kick on and just kill the game off. You don't want it to go to the lottery of spot kicks, but of course it did. Still goals, still drama. We get ourselves ahead once more, and you're thinking, look, from a losing position, we've turned it round again, fantastic. But then going into literally the dregs of stoppage time, confusion, I don't know. To me, the defence has to do a lot better in that sort of position. A little bit of naivety, a little bit of, I really, really don't know, but it's been too many times this season that we've just literally, seemingly, right at the end of matches, want to shoot ourselves in the foot. We haven't got that street sort of wise sense about us to be able to snuff out danger and to kill the game off. I felt for large periods of the game today, Bournemouth were sort of better in the management aspect of it and a little bit more snappier in the bite, a little bit better with the passing. They were getting shots away where we weren't. They were just sort of edging it everywhere. And you think, look, get out of jail card. We're going to get through. Barnes again, 3-2 up in stoppage time, and we just can't seem to see things out. That is a little bit of a worry mentality wise that we just can't seemingly do that and do the basics of the game. It went to 3-3. It goes to the lottery of spot kicks. Nobody seemingly wanted to go through during the spot kicks. There was a couple that were missed, and we get through to through the normal standard 5 into sudden death. And even then, there was just to be twists and turns and almost saves, and you're living on the edge of your seat, you're living on the edge of your nerves. But luckily, and that's what it came down to today, it was a large dose of luck that we got ourselves through, we got ourselves past it. Somebody had to be the hero, somebody had to be the villain. Luckily for us, the hero was on our side, and Ramsdale, a surprise, making saves from the spot kicks, getting close on some of the others as well. He is the hero of the day, the hero of the minute right at the end. Harvey Barnes for me, though, continuing on this brilliant vein of form, and it really puts the pressure on Eddie Howe with regards to playing him. He is producing the goods, he's getting the results, he's doing what needs to be done. Anthony Gordon, his direct competitor, really isn't. Um, doing anywhere near as much. Yes, spot kicks and stuff, but it's a bit of a headache, isn't it, for Eddie Howe? A bit of a squared circle. He's got to try and sort out what's what, and hopefully get Gordon fit and firing him. Because I thought when he came on, he wasn't half bad. He was getting crosses in, but nobody was getting on the end of them. And there is maybe signs there, green shoots of recovery, maybe, but it's going to be a difficult one. Perhaps the solution is, for the time being, to play Harvey Barnes on the right hand side and to play Gordon on the left hand side. Let me know what you think about that one. It is, it's been a topic, hasn't it, this year? That particular battle and that particular quandrum. I am absolutely freezing still. Absolutely, absolutely Arctic. And we go again. We go again on Tuesday evening, this time in the League Cup. So looking forward to that one. I'll certainly be wrapping up warm. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you do get there. It wasn't champagne stuff. It wasn't vintage. The performance wasn't brilliant, but we're through. Bournemouth are out. Happy days. Hopefully the Livramento injury isn't too bad. Everything crossed on that one. But I'll leave it there. Hand it back over to Ian. Because Newcastle United are into the fourth round of the FA Cup. Bring on Manchester City. They hopefully won't be scoring 10 against us.
And then I want to ask you if you have anything else to add on this FA Cup tie. Is there anything you noticed about our performance, Bournemouth's performance?
Bournemouth was really good at these counterattacks, and we were perfect to fit in. We were very bad in defending them. I think I don't know if it was the first or second goal from them. There was a long ball playing over Trippier.
hmm
I don't know.
Um, I think it was the first goal because the second
Yeah,
goal is David
could be.
Brooks, and David Brooks shot it from outside the area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. But what I want to say about that, Trippier, I think he knows he's not the fastest player.
hmm
And it was back in their half where the player launched a long high ball. And you see him.
Okay, so before we were so rudely interrupted, you were making a very good point about Trippier and his lack of pace.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It was a session, the second goal.
Okay, it was.
Yeah, they
hmm
launched a rocket ball from their own penalty box. And you see Trippier expecting the ball much slower, much shorter.
hmm
And he was jogging a little bit, and then he saw, oh, shit, the ball is traveling further than I thought. And then he's speeding up, but it was too late. And I think if you know that you're not the fastest one, maybe do the sprint first. And if it's too long, yeah, okay. But it's not that good kind of idea to, yeah, say, yeah, yeah, it's okay. If I go a bit slower and then noticing, oh shit. And then if you
Absolutely.
are not the fastest player, then it's normally too late. And
hmm
that's what we saw then. I don't know which player it was from them. It was number 7,
Brooks?
Brooks. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was gone. And then there's my point on Botman. He got the ball in the first place, like he blocked it a bit, but then he let Brooks shoot for the second time and it went in.
hmm
And I sometimes I have this on my mind. If I see a player was struggling with something, I'm focusing on that for the whole
Yeah.
match and watching him. And I saw Botman this game, and if I think about his Leeds game as well, he since his injury, he looks a bit stiff sometimes.
hmm
Sometimes, so you can see it in the second goal. Like sometimes it's only from the winger. In this case, it was Brooks or anyone else from the striker. The you need just this little motion to bring him
Hmm.
off his foot and to win the duel, I would say, with him.
Yeah.
So he's not the fastest as well, but he's normally with his defending capabilities.
Hmm.
It's not that kind of a problem, especially when Chia is next to him instead of Cher, for example.
Hmm.
But yeah, since his injury, he looks a little bit stiff. So
Yeah.
it looks like American football. Sometimes you just need a quick move to catch him off feet, and
Hmm.
yeah, then
Yeah.
that's where he's struggling a lot, I think.
I can imagine he's probably still struggling a bit for fitness himself, but given the fact that we absolutely have zero backups at this moment in time, he just has to
Uh,
play. So that's
of
probably
course.
got to do something with it as well. But if we only have a look at his match rating from yesterday, he was a full on rating lower or full on point lower than Tiao's rating. So that does tell you a bit of a story that you're probably very accurate in your observations there.
Yeah, I see. 7.0 from Flashscore, 7.6 for Chia.
Oh, here on the SofaScore it's actually 6.4 and 7.4, so that's
Oh.
even more of a difference.
So let's mix it up and you get the truth.
Exactly, as with most things in life. But are there any other final thoughts you have on this game? Very, very glad to be moving on, even though four competitions to be still competing in is a lot, and it's a lot of games to be played. We want to be competitive in as many competitions as possible. So no reason for us to be complaining, is there?
Yeah, all in all, we backed it at the end, so it was not necessary to take it to over extra time and penalty, even with this stretched schedule. But yeah, let's take it. So back to the Botman take, the third goal. No, the yeah, doch, the we scored the 3-1 3-2 from Barnes
Mm-hmm.
and conceded the late equalizer. And
Yep.
it was Botman again. He was trying
Yeah.
to defend, I think it was, who
Tavernier?
was it?
The one who scored?
Yeah, yeah,
Tavernier.
yeah, Tavernier. Yeah, he tried to bully him off a bit and Ramsdale coming, but yeah, I think it looked like it wasn't that hard to defend it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. Yeah,
however, he
it
let
was a
him
frustrating
through
goal to
on
concede.
his right shoulder, and yeah,
Completely agree. Yeah, it really was a frustrating goal to concede because it was avoidable. It only needed to be
yeah,
avoided for 1 minute more and we would have seen out the game. So I'm glad we
definitely,
we we eventually did go through on penalties because otherwise that would have been a very sour one to take. All right,
definitely.
let's
But I
end.
don't want to blame it completely on Botman, but
No, 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 no. You aren't.
even
You aren't.
Ramsdale should have stayed on the line, I think. But it
Hmm.
was a situation where Tavernier you wasn't able to put a banger on that. He was in this situation with Botman. It was
Hmm.
clear that he only can put on maybe a 30 miles shot per hour. So
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Ramsdale could have been on the line and just
Hmm.
taken it with his foot and launching
Yeah,
it.
I thought so
But
too.
yeah, it was
Both
a
both of them looking a bit suspect for that last
yeah.
goal.
But we took the win. We stayed in the competition and we had a stressful week with two stressful
Absolutely.
games, but
But
with
now
the
in
right
this FA
outcome
Cup,
in the end.
already a lot of first division side have gone out. I mean, we've seen Everton fall out. We've seen Crystal Palace historically drop out. I mean, the FA Cup holders losing to sixth tier side Macclesfield. That is absolutely insane. I mean, that made for the best stat I saw all week in the fact that the last time a team who won the FA Cup were knocked out by a team as low down the footballing pyramid as the sixth tier was when Wolves were defending the FA Cup and they got knocked out by sixth tier sides. You won't believe this. Crystal Palace themselves.
Crazy.
When Crystal Palace were in the sixth tier, that was the last time a sixth tier team knocked out the FA Cup champions. So that's an unbelievable stat, even if you consider that this was the very first time Crystal Palace won any sort of trophy, let alone the FA Cup. Yeah, it's an unbelievable day to be a Macclesfield Town supporter, I can imagine.
Definitely.
So I felt it would be remiss of us to not mention them at least in here. But a lot of first division sides who have already dropped out. So
Yeah.
maybe a possibility for us for some more silverware there.
Yeah, I hope so. But we have some interesting games today. I, I'm just seeing that Leeds is down 1-0 against Derby
Are they?
County.
Oh, okay.
And we
Let's
already
go.
have the 53
I do
minutes.
enjoy Derby as well because I thought they had a very interesting summer, bringing someone like Carlton Morris, for example, who we've seen in the
Mhm.
Premier League with Luton. He's been injured for most of the season, but let's not get into too much championship talk because otherwise this podcast is going to be 6 hours long.
Yeah, but Leeds missed a penalty, and 2 minutes later they conceded.
I see. Damn. Whew. That's
Yeah,
a rough
but
one for them to take. And at 3 o'clock, it's Portsmouth facing Arsenal.
yeah, I
Our
think that
next
is a
games,
clear one.
however, yeah, I think so too. Our next games, however, are against Manchester City at the semi-finals for the Carabao Cup. We are playing at home, but also have to play them at the Etihad uh, at the beginning of February, I think the away leg is. Do you have any predictions for this game? Are you positive?
I don't know. I I talked yesterday to my friend who made me a Newcastle United
Hmm.
supporter, and we talked about if we would drop that game, maybe. But yeah, we have
I,
so
I,
many games, and the
yeah,
Premier
we
League, I
do.
think, is the most important one together with the Champions League. And
Hmm.
we're playing every 3 days, nearly 3 to 5 games,
Absolutely.
3 to 5 days.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, we discussed if we would maybe drop this game and the EFL Cup because of the other three competitions,
Hmm.
but yeah, it's a hard decision. I don't think that we will do it. So that we will drop it intentionally, but it would be hard to make a really great game and then lose it by one, maybe in the end,
Mm.
unlucky one. And in the Etihad, it will be even harder.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe don't hope for it, but maybe lose a player to an unnecessary injury or
Hmm.
something. I don't
That would
know.
be rough. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do agree with that sentiment. It is tough to pick and choose which competitions you prioritize because you want to do well in all of them.
Yeah.
And even as the current holders of the Carabao Cup, you probably have a bit of a responsibility to at least show up in those games. Having said that, though, I think reaching three out of a possible four semi-finals in the last four editions is absolutely incredible by Eddie Howe and his men. Um, City is an incredibly difficult opponent, but this is a Manchester City side which, more so than previous years, has been playing with the same 11 people for most of the season, so there is a chance they are quite tired. Having said that, though, they absolutely bumped Exeter City 10 against 1 yesterday, which was a very heavily rotated side as well. And they already will have Antoine Semenyo, who was man of the match against Exeter City as well in their team. My prediction for this game is going to be a 1-1 at home, which doesn't necessarily leave us in the greatest of positions to go to the Etihad. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we won't drop it intentionally. Like we
Hmm.
saw clubs like Liverpool playing the whole under 21s in this cup. Don't think that we will do it.
Hmm.
But the City is nearly completely rested. Like you said, they played the whole bench nearly
Yeah.
against Exeter, so they will be well rested. But traditionally, we are playing really good against really good teams and playing not that good against not that good teams.
That's true.
So
That
we
is
are
very
adapting
true.
to our opponents. So traditionally, it should be a great game and we should have some chances.
Mm.
But I would go with you. A 1-1 isn't the best situation for the Etihad, but it leaves us with a chance with a great evening then it's February, I think,
Yeah,
to go to the final.
absolutely. Do you have any score predictions for this first leg?
Like I said, 1-1
Oh
like
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I would
fantastic.
I would go with it, I think.
All right, and then we move on to the next game and the final game we're previewing this episode, which is a competition match against Wolves at the Molineux. A Wolves side which is still languishing at the bottom of the league, but has now moved away from their 2 points collected all season to, I mean, they are now unbeaten in four if you count the FA Cup match in there as well, drawing against Manchester United in a game they maybe could have even won. absolutely thumping West Ham and completely deserving that victory, and then even drawing against nine-man Everton, which will have helped. And then a 6-1 win against Shrewsbury in the FA Cup with Jørgen Strand Larsen scoring a hat-trick. So this Wolves side finally do regaining some form. Do you think we might struggle against Rob Edwards' men?
That's what I thought when I saw their scores,
Mhm.
beginning with the United game and going on against West Ham, Everton. It's a bad timing to play against them, I think.
I think so too.
So I would have played against when they got 2 points. Now they are seven. It's nothing nearly, but after 21 games.
Mhm.
But like I said, they are regaining some form, they are regaining some confidence, and they will be going into that game with full
Confidence. Yeah.
confidence. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Agree. And also Mateus Mane is looking like a very, very big talent for them.
yeah, of course, of course, of course.
Interesting player to watch. If we're going for the scores on the doors in this game, I'm going to let you predict this one first, so I can't steal your prediction again.
Um, I'm a positive man, and I would say we get through with a lucky 1-2.
All right, I'm going for a bit more positivity, and I'm going to say we end their positive streak and win 3-0 away. I'm going for
That
that
would be
prediction.
awesome.
I completely agree. And it would be a brilliant away performance from us as well, which we haven't seen a lot of times this season. But also something I do want to touch upon really quickly, which I've noticed. If you have a look at our from January onwards, so we started the month by playing at home against Crystal Palace, then at home against Leeds, now at home against Bournemouth. We play at home against Man City in the Cup, then we play away against Wolves. Afterwards, we play at home against PSV in the Champions League. After that, we play at home against Aston Villa, and after that, we play an away game against Newcastle. So against Paris Saint-Germain. So out of a possible 8 games, I think we play 6 at home this month, which is nuts.
And this is a big one for us to play all these home games because we're
Absolutely.
so much struggling on the road.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a confidence booster for us. I think if we can bag there many points in this home game, so we can take it with us on the road to Paris, to Liverpool, and to City again 3 times in a row on the road. There will be
Completely agree.
a hard face, I think, but yeah, if we can back enough confidence, and I think we can hopefully play good in
Absolutely.
this
And
time.
finally
And I
leave
hopefully
these
we,
curses behind us.
yeah, and I hope we have a good game against Aston Villa when I'm at St. James's Park.
Oh, you're coming. Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, we
I
we
imagine.
we chose this game because of our calendar, so it fits for everyone.
Mhm.
I didn't expect it to be a top game against such
I
a
mean, yeah, they have been brilliant.
overperforming Aston
Yeah,
Villa. I'm a bit
absolutely, they
afraid.
have. All right, for the last segment, which we will finish this podcast on, somebody who is a part of our group posted on our social media where they asked the fans to be sporting directors for the month of January. Now, some of the fans have gotten in touch and have suggested some moves to make in January. So, the two of us will give a quick and brief reaction to most of the comments made on that post. So, for example, the first comment that was made was Mark Wilson, who said, I would move out Joe Linton, Lascelles, Willock, Osula, and that Greek goalkeeper, by which I think he means Vlachodimos, who is out on loan at Sevilla.
Yeah.
And he says in, and this is very ambitious. I'm already gonna say that in advance. Elliot Anderson or Adam Morton, which I would be all for. As for starters, Rafinha, I presume he means the Barcelona one.
Yeah.
Seems pretty unrealistic. James Trafford, I don't think that's a priority for this January, but in the long term, I still see us bringing him in, especially if his City situation doesn't change, because I mean Donnarumma is only like 1.5 years older than him, so it's pretty crazy.
Mhm.
And they've also suggested Harry Kane, which I'm not going to take very seriously. So Elliot Anderson or Adam Wharton is basically what I'm asking you here. Which one of those two would you like to see come to Newcastle?
I think I would take Anderson.
Anderson? Yeah, I agree with you. And is that purely because he's a Geordie, or is that more profile-wise?
It's a part. Yeah, I think Anderson, he knows Eddie, he knows Newcastle, he's a Geordie.
Mhm.
He has a market value of 62 million euros.
Yeah, I think we would be paying more than that to get him out of Forest.
What the heck?
He has been brilliant for them, mate.
For how much we sold him?
Uh,
20, 30?
yeah, 35 on paper, but you also have to take into account that we paid 20 million for Flaky Demos to them. So actually kind of like 15 million.
What the heck?
Yeah, and this season he's got the most line breaking passes out of any number six in the league, and he also has the most ball recoveries out of any number six in the league. So he has been brilliant. He is England's third starting midfielder this World Cup if he remains fit.
Yeah, I
And
would take him. I would take
absolutely.
him.
I would too, if only for his defensive output, because I think a double pivot of him and Tonali would be world class. But I'm gonna be honest, I think he himself thinks, well, the midfield is the same as when I left there, so I don't think I'm going to get in, which isn't necessarily true, but I can imagine him thinking that. And also, I think Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Man City will all be in for him this summer and will all be tabling 80 to 100 million pound offers. So I would be surprised if we got him. But if we're just talking about Anderson or Adam Wharton, completely agree. I would prefer Elliot Anderson to come in.
Yeah, I think Eddie lost him with a tear in his eye
Hmm. I
due
think
to
so
all
too.
these PSR and
And the
FFP and
same can be said for
whatsoever.
Minte.
Yeah, of course. But I think Anderson is the one
Hmm.
who stands out from these both with his performances. I
Agree.
wasn't aware of this market value. What
Yeah,
the
yeah, it's
heck?
insane,
But
and it's absolutely rightfully so.
I think I get your point that he's thinking it's the same midfield, I won't get in. But maybe he has enough confidence to say, yeah, I evolved. I'm d
Hmm.
double, triple the time better than
Yeah,
I was when I left, and
I
I
hope
will get
so.
my chance. Especially if there's a midfield moving, like maybe Willock, Ramsey, someone's
Hmm.
leaving, even Joelinton, like the comment states. I would. I agreed with this 4 weeks ago. Now I'm a
Yeah.
disagreement in this.
I think I'm exactly the same as you are. All right, Martin Slater then. He said outgoings, and I mean, the first comment on here is Martin, you have to be taking the piss. I hope he's taking the piss with his outgoings because he's wrote down Botman, Bruno, Gordon, and Pope. So I suggest we just ignore that. But his signings are some interesting candidates. He's also suggested Elliot Anderson and James Trafford. He suggested Justin Kluivert as a creative midfielder who has now gotten injured again, so I don't think we'll be getting him in January, but is someone who has been suggested by other people on this podcast before, so that would be an interesting shout. And he suggested to look at either Ivan Toney or Raul Jimenez as another striker option. Now, I think Raul Jimenez is too old to be looking at him,
No.
but Ivan Toney, bringing him back from Saudi Arabia, would that be something that interests you?
I heard that rumor maybe a few weeks ago. Someone suggested it as well, and was thinking about, yeah, I don't think we can spend so we can pay the amount of money he will actually get in Saudi Arabia. But if he want to come back to Premier League football, it would be really an interesting call.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Even if as a squad rotation, as we said, Visa and Voltemade,
Mhm.
if we play them together, we have no real backup.
Yeah, you're
Maybe
right.
Ozula, he's injured. There are rumors for January as well.
And Visa has played
So
off of Tony before, so that would be something
yeah, right.
they will know. They know each other. Tony has a Newcastle history as well, so he would be coming home somewhat. That would be very interesting. Although I don't think he's played any Premier League games for us in the first team. Um, yeah, I do like Ivan Toney as a footballer. Maybe not necessarily as a person because of his suspension and the way he dealt with that situation.
Hmm.
But yeah, it would be a very interesting signing. I was scrolling through the comments and I see a lot of people who don't necessarily make the most realistic suggestions, but I do think this is a very, very interesting comment. If I can re-find it. Yes, here. So he says out Lascelles, Willock, Vlachodimos, and Osula. I think that's very realistic outgoings
Yeah,
window for January. And he says then for people to come in, he'd like Danny Munoz at Crystal Palace. Now, I don't think on the one hand you will be getting him away because his backup there is Nathaniel Klein. And I mean, if Palace were to sell him, I think Glasner walks. Um,
could be.
but we could go looking for the right back that Palace have been linked with to replace him. Palace have been linked with, I mean, they bought Dani Munoz from Genk, and Genk in Belgium have now gotten a new right back who does the same things as Munoz does, but to a better extent. He is Zachary El Ouadi is his name, and he is more of a refined version of Munoz, in my opinion. He's more composed on the ball. He cuts inside more. Is even more of a box presence because Genk play with the back four, and even still he finds himself in attacking areas a lot. He's struggled with injuries over the last 2 months, I think, but he's back now, and he would be a very interesting option for us. 23-year-old Moroccan right back. He's also suggested Calvin Bassey from Fulham. Now, this is someone I would like to see come in because this is a profile we absolutely don't have. And what I mean by that is a centre back who you almost need to label as batshit crazy because of because of all the things he does on the pitch. Moving with the ball into dangerous areas, beating opponents. He genuinely is like a ball playing six playing centre back. So I think he would be a very interesting cover option in at centre back. Then they've also suggested an attacking midfielder for us to sign. They said Morgan Gibbs White, which I do find like I mean,
Interesting, yeah,
yeah,
but
it is interesting. I think the problem is that for the price you are going to pay when it comes to Morgan Gibbs White, I think you can find a lot of players for half the money who do the same thing who just aren't English. Um, but as a profile, without thinking about what money we would be spending on him, I do think he is an interesting player to keep in mind. But on the other hand, as little business as you need to do with Evangelis Marinakis, the better, in my opinion. So maybe stay away from that one. And the last suggestion they make is Evan Nilsson from Bournemouth as striker rotation. What do you think of those suggestions?
Evan Nilsson looked promising against us, and I think he's a good striker, especially in a squad rotation situation. But I think we have to move away from all these Premier League transfers.
Yeah.
So we bought Voltemade from the Bundesliga, and yeah, we overpaid, of course, due to the situation that it was nearly the last day of the window. But I think we can get similar or even sometimes better options outside of Premier League.
Mm.
Like we heard some rumors of how's he called, Metali from, I think, Toulouse.
Oh, the
So
center back.
yeah, is he
Yeah.
center back or central
Uh,
midfielder?
I thought he
I'm not
was a
sure.
left-sided center back.
Yeah. I think that was him.
I think the French
So
midfielder we've been linked with is Kevin Danois at Auxerre.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the second one of
yeah.
yeah. So I think there are better options maybe in the French league, like or the Belgium league,
Mhm.
the
Bundesliga.
Netherlands, yeah, Bundesliga, Netherlands. Even I think I heard we are building something like a training ground. How's it called?
Hmm.
Evolution center like this
Yeah,
in Brazil or South
okay.
America in general. I think that's
That
the
could
way
be
to
really
go
interesting.
and
Yeah.
move away from these overpaying Premier League transfers. Like, how long does we wanted to have Marc Gueye from Crystal
Yeah.
Palace? Like a year.
Mm.
We were willing to pay 70 million pounds, and then we didn't got him in the game against us. He made two own goals, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of him, but it's crazy
I mean,
overpaying.
I am a big fan of Marguerite, but I do think Malik Chow is not far off him, and we paid half of the amount we would have
Yeah, that
needed to pay for Kenny.
look at Elanga.
Hmm.
He's, we paid 70 million pounds.
Yeah. And look at
That's
what City.
nearly 80 million euros. That's crazy.
I mean, 55 million pounds, I think. So
Ah, yeah,
65
and
million
70
euros.
million euros
Yeah,
like this.
yeah.
Yeah,
But look at what Manchester City paid for Cherki. Again, half of that. And Cherki
yeah,
is absolutely brilliant. He is.
yeah. He's a
Yeah.
quite difficult character, so Dortmund was interested as well,
Yeah.
and I heard a bit of that. But
Mhm.
outside of Premier League, you get better deals money-wise and
Absolutely.
then sometimes
Mhm.
talent-wise.
Because you see in all
So
of Europe as well, clubs are waiting for offers from Premier League clubs because you can sell near on useless players for double the amount of money you would have sold them
yes,
to other clubs. Look at,
definitely.
like we've mentioned before, Castellanos to West Ham. Lazio must have laughed themselves crazy the day they got the offer of 30 million for Castellanos. I'm still
Yeah, but
still not
if
over
if
that.
if they bought it from a Premier League club, they would have paid 40.
Yeah, probably. That's the insane part. I mean, the Premier League money is most likely not going to change anytime soon, but you can make a difference by just investing smartly. And that is something you do have to say. If you look at every single transfer which has been made since the Saudi investment consortium has become our owner, nearly all of them have worked out really, really well. And normally in world football, transfers have a hit ratio of just under 50%. We are well above that. So that credit has to be given for that. And for recruitment in general, because we are also still on only our first manager since the new owners. So that is also very impressive.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Is there anything else you would like to add to this podcast? I think we've covered a lot of very interesting topics today.
Just the last point on to all these transfer rumors.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the comments mentioned James Trafford. I think he's very interesting, but the money he gets from City, I think we need to pay big on him
Mm-hmm.
on his wages to get him. I don't think if he's worth it.
Yeah.
And the second, I saw one name roaming around all these comments on and on,
Mm-hmm.
Gregor Kobel.
Yeah.
And that's not
The-
because I'm a Dortmund fan as well and want
Mhm.
to keep him. Please don't only look Champions League football, watch him in the league. He's not that much better than Pope.
Thank you. I was wondering
It's
this if it was
crazy.
just me who thought this. I th
No, he's nearly the same as Pope.
Mhm.
He's a world-class shot stopper, but he has two left foots.
Okay. Yeah.
But the people don't see the Champions League highlights, maybe a Fulham Champions League match. Yes, he's performing well in there, but watch him a whole season. Watch what he does
Mhm.
with his foot. It's the same, maybe 10% better than Pope. But
Mhm.
if we get him, people will complain after a few weeks when they see what he's doing with his foot.
All right, that's a very interesting point to make. Have you, by any chance, seen a lot of games of Freiburg's goalie, Noah Atubolu?
I saw some of them, mostly
Hmm.
of the highlights, and of course the games against Dortmund. I saw
Yeah.
full 90 minutes. He was injured, I think.
Oh,
Is
okay.
I don't know, was he injured? But he had a bad face, I think.
Okay.
But
Because
let's
he's
see.
very young for a goalkeeper still, isn't he? Like 23, 22 years old?
23s, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And with a
Yeah.
market value of only 19 million.
So he was one of the goalkeepers I had been looking at in the summer before we did sign Ramsdale.
Yeah, what do we need? We need a world-class goalkeeper, yeah, but you can't buy Donnarumma, you can't buy
Mm.
Alisson, and Alisson is old, getting
Yeah,
older and older.
yeah.
You won't buy Courtois, so you have to find your own world-class keeper, maybe. You need
Hmm.
one with abilities to become the world-class goalkeeper we want and we need.
Hmm.
So yeah, you have to look on these. So he's not really a talent, he's 23, but
Yeah.
on these half-evolved talents, I would say,
And for a goalkeeper, that's
uh,
still extremely young because a goalkeeper, I mean, he's
can
probably
play up
got
to
10 to
40.
15, yeah, he's got 10 to 15 years left of his career. So yeah.
Yeah. So you need these half-evolved players, they
Hmm.
with the potential with Freiburg, he's don't know, he's Bundesliga and maybe Conference League or something.
Uh,
Sorry, Pilsen,
is
or Europe League.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
But with all these competitions in the Premier League and these games much more intense than the
Mm,
Bundesliga, there's much more potential on him, I think. Yeah, he's not bad.
absolutely. All right. I
So
think
I
that's
would rather pay, let's say, 25 million euros instead of 70 million for
mhm.
Kobel, maybe, or what the.
Completely agreed. Completely agreed. And even then, if Atubolu does need some time to adjust, you still can give Nick Pope another season and let Atubolu play in the cup competitions, for example. That would be an
Yeah,
interesting shout. All right, those are some very, very interesting conversations we've had throughout the last 2 hours, I think we have now reached. I want to thank everybody at home for listening if you did listen to this on Spotify and watching if you went over to YouTube to watch this. Please like, subscribe, or give us a 5-star review if you did so on Spotify. Head over to Magpie 24/7 on all our other social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, X, you know the drill. And we would like to thank you a lot for listening. Have a good one.
was a pleasure. Thank you.